get to be any little thing that we want to be. No matter what comes our way, we'll be together, together.
Welcome to Homeschooling Down South. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Kat. We're two Southern homeschooling mamas sharing real talk, resources, and inspiration for life and learning in the Southeast.
Each week, we'll chat with inspiring voices in the homeschool community, highlight must-see nature spots and field trip gems, and share resources from across the region.
Whether you're new to homeschooling or a seasoned pro, pull up a chair and join us as we celebrate the joy, freedom, and community of homeschooling down south.
We'll laugh together, we'll learn together, find the joys in life together, give each other grace and space to be.
Welcome back, everybody. We're so glad you're here. This week, we're having a conversation that is going to be just really near and dear to all our hearts. We have Sarah Pead here. She is the Wild and Free group leader from Carrollton, Georgia, and she also does all kinds of other things with Wild and Free, and she has her own homeschooling story to share. We're going to get into all of it, but Sarah, thank you for being here with us. We're so excited.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for inviting me and including me in the conversation today.
You're welcome. So, Sarah, can you share with us, how did you come to homeschooling?
Yeah. Well, a story is kind of familiar probably to a lot of homeschooling mamas past 2020.
Yep.
It happened. But it was kind of this beautiful work of events that kind of transpired that made it happen. So I followed Ainsley Arment, who founded Wild and Free, and her husband Ben for a really long time, even before homeschooling was even a consideration. We met her husband through a creative conference that he used to host. And then my husband came home one day and he's like, "Do you follow Ainsley on Instagram?" And I was like, "No, should I?" He's like, "Yes." And so I did. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Like, I want this beautiful childhood, because it's just the posts were so idealistic and beautiful. And so it was very inspiring. So I just kind of started following her. And then when she released her book, her first book, The Call of the Wild and Free, I was very excited, but I didn't really feel a nudge to read it because I just followed it and followed things on Instagram and that kind of thing. But that was about it. Because at the time, my kids were in public school and I had no desire at all to homeschool. My mom was a teacher, and I was like, "That's great. That's not me." But December 2019, I checked out a copy of her book from the library. I actually requested the library add it to their shelves, and they did. So I was like, "Yay! A little library in Maryland now has a copy of her book." And I read it, and I was like, "I like these ideas." At the time, it was our second year living in Maryland. We had been in Indiana before. I'm from Virginia. It's a whole like here, there, everywhere kind of thing. But we weren't happy with the school system. I don't want this to be like I'm bashing public school, but the school our children were in, we just were not, we didn't like it. Aside from the fact that we could like walk to the school and drop them off, which was very poetic. But other than that, that's about it. And so I'm reading the book. I tell my husband, "I really like what's happening here. Could we consider this?" And he was like, "I think you like the idea of it and the romanticism of it, but I don't think it's what you think it is." And then lo and behold, we find out he has two friends who are homeschooled, and because he was very concerned about our kids being weird. It's a normal concern. But I said, two of your best friends were homeschooled. They're not that weird. I think they'll be okay." So then 2020 hit and we all got sent home. We kept the kids enrolled in public school, but I asked my husband, I said, "Can I start implementing some of these things at home just to create a little bit of flow and normalcy and keep them off the computer as much as we can, since that's what school was at the time?" And it just stuck. And it was fantastic. We named it Wild Blue Yonder Morning Collective.
Oh, I love it. So
Yeah.
sweet.
And my kids were first grade. My youngest was in first grade. My oldest was in third grade. So it was a very sweet season. My oldest had already like learned several basic elementary things. So it kind of made that transition really easy. And then my daughter was just excited to do anything. So that's kind of how it started. And then that summer of 2020, my husband took a job here in Georgia. And we told the kids, we're like, hey, we're going to move to Georgia. And guess what? We really get to pick wherever we want to live because we're going to keep homeschooling. And they loved it. So,
That's
yeah.
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
What does a homeschool day feel like for y'all?
So my kids now are 15 and 12. So it has changed a lot
Yeah.
since 2020.
Yeah.
But the principles and the foundations are still there. I do own my own business, and so does my husband, so we work from home, so there's a lot of flexibility there. But basically, the morning time, so 9 a.m. to 1-ish, they get me. I'm teacher, quote, unquote. I'm there to do our morning collective time, which a lot of people call morning basket or table time or whatever, just because we had already named it Morning Collective. That's kind of what we kept. So usually that's where we're doing some readings together. We do recitation. We follow a lot of Charlotte Mason methodology. So there's that. We do all of our history and art. And a lot of our read alouds together. And then we do one on one time. So I'll do one on one time with each of my kids, depending on what they need. So my
Mm.
daughter needs the one on one time with math. Her lessons are just built that way because it's very Charlotte Mason. My son, if he could have unlimited energy and wake up whenever he wanted and get his work done, he would be done by 9 a.m. so he could do what he really wants to do in life. So a lot of his stuff honestly is on his own, but we are entering pre-algebra. So I said, "Guess what? I get to do math again with you. You can't just read the lessons on your own." And I'm kind of excited about it because I like algebra.
So so what I'm hearing is I need to call you when I get to that point, and you can come do algebra with my kid.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. It's the only math I like is algebra. And I
I
think it's just I think it's the um I don't know, it's kinda artsy, like X's, Y's, A's, and B's, like, I don't know. Plus I did a really great job on it in college after not doing a great job of it in high school. So it was one of those moments where I was like, "Oh, you don't have to be a certain age to learn things." So it just feels
Yes.
empowering to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so anyways, we have that one-on-one time and then they have independent time. So they do different things that they can just do on their own. And just last spring, I actually subbed out some stuff to my mom
Uh-huh.
because they live in Virginia, but they visited 1 week in the spring. And because my mom was a teacher, I said, "Can you help my daughter with some of this spelling stuff? Because we fight when we do this."
Mm.
So she sat down with her and started, and so when they, like, went back home, I said, "Hey, can we do this daily? Like, you FaceTime her and y'all just own spelling together?"
Love
And
that.
so it's great. So that's what they do. So that's a
That's
lot of fun.
brilliant.
With my kids being teens, tweens, they are asking for more social moments. They don't necessarily want to be in a school, but they want that atmosphere. So they actually just last week started at a local academy that's specifically for supplementing with your homeschool. So my daughter's in a cosmetology class and my son's taking a web development class,
I
which is
love
really
it.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and, so that's the first half of the day. So they get me 9 to 1, and then after that, in the afternoon, I'm down here actually in my studio working, and in between all that, I'm gathering eggs from chickens and, stretching sourdough loaves and all that.
I heard so many things I loved. First of all, I just love hearing a homeschool mom talk about liking math. Like, I'm not her, but I like hearing it. I just feel like so
Yeah,
often we like all just say, like, "Oh, boo, math." But I just love what you said that, like, you can learn it again and it's empowering to learn it. And what a good
yeah,
lesson for your kids. And I also love the brilliance of outsourcing to grandparents.
Yes.
That's a tip that I'll
And
be
like
mhm,
taking.
FaceTime is your friend.
Yes.
yep,
We have all this
absolutely.
technology. Let's use it.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, for sure.
So I wanted to ask more about the homeschooling while also being a business owner. And, people ask a lot of times, how do you homeschool and work, which has its own dynamic. But when you are the boss and you have to be such a good steward of your time, and I ask that very much from a selfish perspective because I am bake with fresh milled flour and sell all the things. And I find it sometimes difficult to be totally present during the school time because something will pop into my head. I'm like, oh, well, let me do this really quick while they're doing that. And so I loved what you said about from 9 to 1, I am teacher. They get me. has that evolved since they've been older? Is that how you did it when they were younger? Can you talk a little bit about that dynamic of my husband and I are both running businesses, but we're also homeschooling our kids?
Yeah, it's a really great question. It's definitely evolved because when we started this, both my husband and I worked at a church. We were both on the creative team there. So the working from home thing kind of happened at the same time that the kids got forced at home for school. So we kind of started to learn that. And then it was when we moved to Georgia that I said, that's it. I'm done working for somebody else. I would like to do this on my own kind of thing. It only took 15 years, but sometimes you just baby steps. So yeah, it has changed. As they get older, the independence definitely comes. But I've had to set a lot of limitations and a lot of boundaries for myself. My phone lives in my bedroom during our school hours unless we have to use a Spotify playlist for some of our music study. And I will tell the kids, my phone is right here beside me only because of this. So that's just a boundary that I have set.
Yeah.
If it were up to me, my phone would always live in my bedroom because I just don't like carrying it around with me everywhere and being available all the time. But I understand it's 2026. I gotta balance it a little bit.
Right.
So there is that boundary. And so
Yeah.
because my phone is away from me, I'm less likely to want to check text messages, emails, all of that kind of thing. And I have slipped up a time or two where I might have my phone and the kids are kind of doing their own thing. I'm like, ooh, I could take some time and like jump ahead and check my email and not spend time at my computer doing that. And ultimately, that ends up ending in frustration on all of us because I'm reading an email trying to respond to a client. My daughter has a question who knows that she's supposed to have me right now. And I'm over here, hang on, I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. And I'm short with her, she's short with me, it blows up, it's a whole thing. So it's just let's mitigate that situation. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's
what I've
awesome.
learned. Yeah.
And I know from emailing you to set this conversation up, you also have in your email signature when you're available on
Mhm.
email. So you're like communicating to the world also that I have this boundary and this is when you can reach me. And I think
Yeah.
that's really brilliant too.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah, that's something I tell all of my clients because they're all 9 to 5, business world, whatever they are, and I will tell them, "I do homeschool my children. I am with them from 9 to 1. Feel free to text or email me. Just know I may not respond right away. If it's an emergency, like we need something to send to press right now, then please call me because that really is the only way I'm gonna know." Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us about what your work is. You mentioned your studio and these deadlines, so I'm starting to get an idea, but tell us.
Yeah, so I'm a graphic designer.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah. It all started in good old yearbook in high school when I had a friend who I used to joke with her all the time about how she was always designing something, and I was like, "You're glued to this thing. It runs your world." And she's like, "You just wait. You're gonna fall in love with this, and you're gonna take my job when I graduate." Sure enough, I took her job, and I fell in love with graphic design.
Aw.
And and then that's what I went to school for. That's all my first industry job was at a marketing company, and then I transitioned to be a communications director at a church we were at in Indiana, then transitioned to be communications director, creative director at our church in Maryland, and then at that point was like, I think I'm ready to do this on my own, and now I just get to pick and choose who
I
my
love
clients are.
it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's so great. So, somewhere in this journey, not only did you start homeschooling after reading The Call of the Wild and Free, you also stepped into the call of being a group leader. Can you tell us about the pathway to that?
So, because Wild and Free was kind of my foundation of what homeschooling was. Before we even moved to Georgia, I first subscribed to the bundles because I told my husband, "Hey, I just kind of want to see what these are about." I've never canceled, paused my subscription. It's
They're
just
so
always
lovely.
they're so great. Even though the first one was like, "It's just a test. Let's just see." The test passed.
Yeah.
So there was that. So I immediately looked for groups in Georgia. So we're in kind of transition period. We actually moved to Virginia for 2 weeks to live with my parents before we got our house in Georgia. So I got to spend that time figuring out, where's my community going to be
Mhm.
because this is a whole new state, people we don't know, and I'm going to homeschool. So I immediately found a group. It's the Wild and Free West Georgia is our official name. We got to keep that when they made all the name changes based on location because of the way West Georgia is shaped. It's just you have all these little pockets that kind of
Mm.
intersect. So Andrea Pratt, when she was still leading group leaders, like she let us keep that name. So I joined the group. a fantastic leader who was part of originally founding it in 2017. And we just jumped in because I said, this is our community. Like, we have to be with these people. So we just did all the things. The leader, she asked me at one point, hey, would you mind helping us with social media? Because she knows as a designer, she knows in that world. And I said, yeah, sure. I will help post stuff on social media. And then it turned into, hey, can you help write like a monthly newsletter? I was like, okay, sure. I can do this. Uh, and then I go to my first Wild and Free conference, which was Dallas. So the first one after all the COVID stuff where you could
Yeah.
actually attend. And she's sitting next to me during a break and she says, hey, our family's getting ready to kind of transition seasons. Would you be interested in taking the lead of the entire group?
Oh.
And I said, yeah, but I'm going to need some help. Because I mean, I wear a lot of hats. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, I'm definitely gonna have to pray about it. I need to talk to my husband about it because I know there's a lot of responsibility. So I'll get back to you. So I spoke to my husband and we were like, yeah, if you can get some help, if you can have people who are helping with different parts. Cause at that point, we had like 70 families
Oh my
Whoa.
in our
goodness.
group. Now, granted, probably 10 to 15 of them actually attended or interacted at all.
Sure.
But
Sure.
that was a lot of people.
Yes.
So first thing I have to do is send emails to all these people to see if they're even are living or if they're even interested anymore.
Yes.
And so that was kind of like the first go. So basically, our current leader was like, we'll just kind of go until August, which is when our season technically refreshes, and kind of I'll hand it off to you then. And yeah, so I built a team. At one point, we actually had a team of 5 co leaders who all did different things within the group. It was a really sweet season, but due to family commitments and other things, it just eventually that changed a little bit, which was hard at first because I was like, oh my gosh, I had all the support. And now I don't have all the support. And now I don't know what to do. And a I'm the type of person where if you come to me with an idea, this is something that our previous leader actually taught me. If you come to me with an idea, I'm going to support you 100%, but I'm not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
So sure, you wanna go on a field trip? You tell me when, you tell me where, you tell me, you know, all the details. I will communicate it, but you're running the show. I'm more big picture when I get into the details in certain areas of life. There are some areas where I'm like, no, I'm gonna get into all the nitty-gritty. But when it comes to organizing things, it's just one of those things that's just not my gift. And so I try to find people who that is their gift,
Yeah.
which is where my current co-leader has come in and she took over member coordination. Like, she's our member coordinator. She's kind of our mama caretaker. If we find out somebody's having a baby or they're sick or whatever, like, she's reaching out. She's putting together gift card and gift baskets and all kinds of things like that. And she's terrific. And even just I've had seasons, I don't know, maybe y'all have had these moments too as leaders where I would feel like I cannot do this anymore. I'm exhausted. I don't have the passion. And
Yes.
I've reached out to fellow wild and free leaders who I know are trusted. And I'm like, y'all, this is how I feel. What
Mhm.
do I do? I'm ready to quit. And most of the time, they're like, it sounds like you might just need to breathe for a minute. And ultimately, those moments come right before we have a breathing period within our schedule, which it always feels very divine. And then I'm
Yes.
refreshed and I'm ready to go again. Uh, but I'm in this new season with my kids being 15 and 12. And it's unfortunate, but there are so many wild and free groups that stay so strong and solid when the kids are like 10 years and younger. And
Mhm.
then something happens. I don't know if it happens within the child's mindset or the parent's mindset or culture's mindset, but it's everybody's too busy and my kid doesn't want to come anymore. And
Mm.
I have to keep up with my kids, this and that and that. And honestly, I did not expect myself to feel that tension, but I have felt that tension.
Yeah.
It's hard for my 15-year-old son, who's already pretty introverted, to come on a hike when he has 15 8-year-olds running around his feet.
We have a 15-year-old in our group who I might have to be like, please let him listen to this because he will feel so seen.
Right.
Right,
Right.
yeah. So there's been those moments, and I mean, even a couple months ago, I called my co-leader and I'm crying because I was like, "I don't know what to do anymore. I love wild and free, but my kids don't really wanna be there right now. I wanna be there, but if they don't wanna be there, what's the point? I don't know."
Yeah.
And she spoke such beautiful life into me, and she was like, "Sarah, we need you there because you have wisdom. Because we don't know what to expect when our kids are what you're like the ages that your kids are. She's like,
Wow.
I've been part of groups where if your kid hit a certain age, you were really no longer a part of that group anymore because
Mm.
they didn't want the seasoned moms. They wanted everybody to be, potty training and dealing with tantrums and all on the same level. She's like, we need you to bring that wisdom. And I was just like, okay, I'll bring the wisdom. Or I'll just show up because I want to have mama community.
Yes.
As
Yeah.
selfish as that is, like I want to be with like-minded mamas. And I think that's what I love so much about Wild and Free. I think that's what I love about the conferences so much. And what I loved about the Farm Village when it was a thing is everybody just gets everybody.
Mm.
But it doesn't matter like what method of homeschooling you're doing. You just all are kind of on this same path of reclaiming childhood, but what that looks like is different, but it's still beautiful. And so that's the season that I'm in right now. And a couple of weeks ago, we had our first hike for the new season. We break in December for cozy schooling, which
Cozy schooling.
it,
I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
I think I stole it from somebody. I can't take full credit, but that's what we call it because it's like more of an excuse on a Friday afternoon or Friday morning instead of going on a cold hike. Grab books, grab hot cocoa, and just slow down.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
we do that. But we had our first hike for this new season, and my daughter had just gotten over a cold and had a gymnastics meet coming up. So I was like, "You're staying home and you're resting." My son had a ton of extra school work to do because 15 freshman year. And I said, "Okay, I'll go. Y'all can stay home." It was so weird.
Bet.
I showed up. It was a smaller gathering. We only had like 4 families, but they all had like 4 kids. So it was a lot of children. But I got to connect with these mamas who I've had a little bit of conversation with, but you start mid-sentence and then a child needs something or one child's gone too far ahead or so and so can't find so and so and
Oh,
the
I
other
do
person lost
know.
her shoe.
Yes. All of these things.
But it was really sweet, and I was like, "This is what my co-leader was talking about when
Yeah.
she said, 'We need you.'" But it
Yeah.
It's
wasn't like, "Oh,
beautiful.
one more thing to plug in and drain me out." It was one of those pour out to get poured back in things. It felt very symbiotic. That's
Yes.
the right word. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love everything you just I loved all of that. It just was, first of all, so relatable. But also I think sometimes people don't realize how much work goes into a wild and free group. And it's beautiful because of all those things you mentioned, that we're on this journey together. We're all doing it differently and we have this community. But that's also part of where the tension sometimes comes in, is because people are doing things differently and scheduling the time and getting everyone organized is often the hardest part because, eh, all of us have a little bit of a rebellious heart. We're homeschooling, and so there's there's different levels of that rebellion, right?
Yep. Mhm.
But getting us
Absolutely.
all organized and just on the same trail in the same direction sometimes can be the hardest part, but once you get there,
Mhm.
it's all worth it, and it's all so good and beautiful. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing all of those parts of that, Sarah. That was beautiful.
Absolutely.
And I really liked the idea of now that your kids are old enough to stay home by themselves, your son has schoolwork he needs to do. Your daughter needs to be mindful of her health. But you still said, I still want to go participate. And that I think is so lovely because from what I have heard from Kat and listening to the speakers from the conferences, Wild and Free was built for mothers and their
Mhm.
children, not just the children, and you're just the vehicle that gets them there. And so you still got to go play with your friends and have your community, and your kids still had their needs met. And that their needs that day were not to come to Wild and Free. But that didn't mean that you had to miss out. And it doesn't sound like anybody made you feel weird about showing up without your kids. So I just really love that even when they're older and may have other things going on, you don't have to lose your community.
Yeah. Yeah, that was huge for me to actually experience that. And one of we have a list of expectations for our group. And one of them is that this is a mom and children's group. It's not a drop your kid off kind of thing, because that's just not what we're here for. And I will very bluntly say, because honestly, Wild and Free was built for mamas and we get to have some time too. I said the
Yep.
kids just come along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of thing. And yeah, that's what that is one of my favorite things about it all.
I think one of the beautiful things about Wild and Free is that, like, the genesis is reclaiming childhood, but in that process, we reclaim motherhood too.
Mhm.
And my son is 5, so I'm a long way from him staying home to do schoolwork and me getting to go on a hike with the mamas. But that's a little bit of hope that I'm gonna hang on to for 10 years, Sarah.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can't wait for my first hike now. I hadn't even thought about that. I can't wait for my first hike when he stays home. That's gonna be so fun.
It's gonna
I
be
lo
so great. But my real question is, will you still recite the poems that you recite at every gathering,
Oh,
even
yeah.
if he's not with you? I love
I
it.
will.
So
I
great.
will indeed.
And
So great.
our kids will call if she misses something, our kids will be like, you forgot if I see a snake and a snake sees me."
Oh, I love that one so much. I taught that to our group.
Oh, yay! Yes. Yeah, we had a gathering of group leaders this past fall, and I pulled one of those out, and everybody said, "Give me all of those."
I I think the first time we experience them has to be when our groups get together.
Oh, yes.
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 So there has to
Yay.
be that.
So
I'm
we're
so
close
excited.
enough here in Georgia that we get to
Mhm.
bring our groups together, which I'm so excited about. I've been wanting to do this with another Wild and Free group for so long, and it's finally happening, and I'm so excited that it's with yours, Sarah. I cannot wait.
Yay.
Sarah, what is it like to lead a Wild and Free group in the South?
It is a lot of fun because this area where we're at in West Georgia, there's so many different available spaces to experience being wild and free. We just have really great trails. And one of the things that we try to balance with our group because of the variety of ages is we have some hikes that are stroller friendly because it's a paved trail. And then there's others where we're like, this one's going to be real bumpy. You might want to wear your baby today
Mhm.
instead of strolling. So that's been a lot of fun. West Georgia just does a really great job at providing those opportunities. And then my co-leader, she's just the perfect person to just spur you on. I feel
Mm.
like she is constantly my Aaron holding up my arms like Aaron held up Moses' arms in
Oh.
scripture. Sometimes my thorn in my side because she challenges me so much, but in good ways. But she really wanted to incorporate some road trips. We called them road trips, but some hikes that were outside of the normal radius that we all travel. Now, where we're at, most people are going to go at least 15, 30 minutes to get to where our meetups are. It
Mm.
really just depends on where you're at. And we were like, what if we challenged our families to get a little uncomfortable? So we've done it once. We did it last year. We did one, and it was just one other family who was able to join me, but it was the sweetest time. And she was new to the group. She had only come to maybe 2 gatherings, and she had a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and an 18-month-old. And this was a 4-mile hike.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
She wore the youngest, and then the other 2 were just troopers. And so we hiked this lake, and it was around this lake, and it was so incredible, and I remember just telling everybody, "Y'all, you missed out because this was a special moment." And so we did
Yeah.
that one again as our first road trip hike in the fall, and we had 2 other families join us. So it was even more special.
Yeah.
But yeah, so every month now what we're trying to do is have a road trip hike. And we also call them family hikes because Wild and Free, it's all mamas and kids and not dads unless it's a family specific event. So we do make the road trip ones, the family ones, in case you're driving 2+ hours and you need the extra set of grown
Yeah.
up hands helping in the car.
Yeah.
Totally, totally get that. So now that we've incorporated these hikes once a month, it's allowing us to get outside of our comfort zones, which is why we get to come and hang out with y'all because that's considered a road trip. But honestly, for us, there's places that are only 20 miles on paper, but they're like 50 minutes, you
Right.
know, because of
Yep.
the way that Georgia is designed road wise.
Yeah.
It's like if you live on the outskirts of Atlanta, everything's going to take you like ever to get to. So we have a hike coming up this Friday is technically one of our road trip hikes. For me, it's only 30 minutes away, but for others, it's like 50. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, but it's also unclaimed territory. We've never been before. It's going to be an adventure.
Yes. I
I
So
love it.
love that.
yeah. So I think there's just a lot of those opportunities. There's just so many gems that if you zoom out, you can really see, oh my goodness, my local area provides a lot of opportunities to get outside and it's not just a playground.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I really like that about the Southeast.
So Kat tells me that you have a role at the national level. You have this bigger role in Wild and Free as a whole. How did you get involved with that and how long have you been involved in that role?
Yeah, that has transitioned very much the same way that I became a leader. I'm very loyal to what I've become passionate about. So if I can be at all the things, I will be at all the things. And when I joined Wild and Free, because I needed this unique mama community where I felt like I could just be myself, I was just like, take me, get all the things. I want to do all the things. Like after COVID, when they reopened the farm village and they had that first mama's retreat,
Mhm.
I immediately told my husband, I said, I want to go to this. He's like, you're going to this. Let's make it's not a question. You're going. And so I went and I met the most beautiful women and made the most beautiful friendships. And from that, I was like, I want more of this. Like, it's almost addicting, just the
Yeah.
relationships and the involvement. And I didn't intend to become a leader in the big, wild, and free world. I really didn't. But there were times where I was like, "Can I please help with this one thing? Can I help?" And I think it was after I attended Dallas, the Dallas conference. It's the only one I've ever attended as an attendee. And then they opened up opportunities to volunteer for Franklin. And so I signed up for that. And I said, I loved attending. I loved the way that those volunteers poured out to me. I want to do the same thing. Like, I want to
Yeah.
pour out that same love, that same care, that same attention to detail. I want other mamas to experience what I experienced. And then that just stuck. I volunteered for that one. Then I think that was after that was the first one that they did in San Luis Obispo, and I didn't get to go to that one. But then I volunteered at the Franklin one and had made more friends at the farm village, so I knew more people. And then the next San Luis Obispo one came about, and everyone was like, "Sarah, are you coming? You have to come. Are you going to be there?" And I was like, "I can't get to California. I'm
Yes.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be there." And then a dear friend of mine, Gita Hardley, who was the director of the conference this past Franklin event, she was like, "We need you there. We're going to get you there. We're going to fly you there." Not Wild and Free.
Wow.
She personally, her family,
Wow.
Wow.
because you need to be here. And I was just like, uh, okay, best birthday present ever because
Yeah.
it was my birthday month. I was able to hop a plane and get there, and it was beautiful. And then became what I did. If it was wild and free, I was going to be there and I was going to serve. And then Ainsley blessed me with asking me to lead the hospitality team at this past conference. And I was like, okay, terrified, just terrified, but so thankful and grateful. And it was such an incredible experience. And I met more sweet mamas and I experienced what it's like to have a team who was so equipped, who they had a similar heart where they just wanted to love and care for. I felt like I didn't really have to do much. When I was telling Ainsley that when we had our debrief after the conference, it was one of those things where y'all told me the vision of what we wanted to create. I then shared that with them and they owned it. And I showed up and I was like, oh, okay. It's just done. And it was just incredible. Yeah. That's
I
kind of,
think
I guess,
I
kind
I
of
don't
what
think you're
happened.
giving yourself enough credit. I saw you. You did a beautiful job leading that team, and Gina did a beautiful job, and she is just one of the kindest people I've ever met.
Yeah,
She's just a really
she
good
is.
person. Yeah.
She
I
is
mean,
a gift.
all of y'all did such a great team. I got to volunteer. This was my first conference volunteering this last year at Franklin, and I was on Cherie Williams' team, and she did a beautiful job,
She's
and
so great.
y'all all just led us with so much heart and trust in us, and it was my 4th conference, and it was by far my best one. The one I
Hmm.
volunteered at serving was just the best conference I've had.
Yeah. It always feels like I know Ainsley says this, but it always feels like a family reunion or like homecoming. And
Mhm.
that really is what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's just such a sweet time. And these are people that I might text every now and then throughout the year, but not a ton. But then when I see them, you just pick right back up. And it's just so incredible. I actually got a text from, Alicia Bolin, who's one of the was one of the leaders at the conference. Her and Cherie are like besties.
Yes.
It became knowledge that Sarah's the one who's gonna cut her T-shirt at these conferences. Again, not an original idea. I took it from somebody else who was volunteering one year.
We borrow our
But
best ideas.
yeah, I know there's nothing new under the sun, right? So, like, I choose the sizes of my t-shirts based on how I'm gonna cut them. I'm gonna cut the neckline, I'm gonna shorten the sleeves, I'm gonna shorten it's gonna be kinda cropped, but not, like, risque, like, it's just what I'm gonna do. Anyway, all that to say, Alicia brought a pair of very great scissors to the conference this past September, specifically for t-shirt cutting.
I love it.
And I went into her hotel room and I was like, "I need to borrow the scissors, the golden scissors, so that I can cut my shirt." Cut my shirt. I think it was yesterday. Yesterday, she texts me, "Hi, friend. I was just about to cut a t-shirt and I was thinking about you and wish you were here
Aw.
to do it for me." And I was just like, it's so sweet. It's just those little things. It's just
Yeah.
so great. Yeah.
I mean,
That's amazing.
I hope that what listeners, if they're not familiar with Wild and Free or they've been thinking about going to that Wild and Free group in their area, I hope what they're able to hear from this is just the richness of the relationships. And our listeners have heard, I mean, every couple of episodes, Kayla and I end up somehow talking about the group and our connection through that group. But the relationships that are formed, whether it's in our local groups or in these bigger conference settings, they're just really beautiful and rich, and they're not like anything else.
No, they're not at all. I mean, my best friends are because of Wild and Free. It's just so sweet. And it's like, and sometimes when you join a group, you're kinda like, "Well, it's just gonna stay kinda here." We'll communicate via whatever app it is that we're using to communicate as a group, and that's it. But my one of my best friends, the first time I ever met her, it's the first time she ever attended a Wild and Free event. We hit it off so much that I said, "This is gonna be weird, but can I have your number?" I said, "It kind of feels like I'm asking you out on a date,
Yeah.
but, like, I kinda wanna chat a little bit more than just
Yeah.
at these meetups," and it just took off. It was so beautiful.
Yeah. There's the bonds that you witness too as a leader are really special because creating an environment, even if it's not the connections I make with another mama, but seeing mamas connect and because I didn't stop leading when it was hard or when I was burnt out. And I mean, our group has seen people through a house burning down, through cancer. I mean, like the things that our group walks through together and then, all the good too. All of the, like, your kids having a cool learning moment or doing that hike that they couldn't do last year and being able to complete it without complaining, you know? Just all the
Mhm.
hard and the beautiful. It's just really special.
Yeah, for sure.
So we always like to wrap up our conversations with asking you about a win. But before I do that, I also want to ask you, what advice would you give to someone who wants to keep leading? They love Wild and Free. What would your advice be to a leader in that position of, I don't know what to do, I'm freaking out? If there is a Wild and Free leader listening that needs some encouragement, what word of encouragement would you give? Would you give for those who can't see that? Kat just raised her hand.
Yeah.
What piece of advice would you give that leader? And maybe it's not a Wild and Free leader. Maybe it's just someone who leads another group. But as a leader of a homeschool group, could you speak a word of encouragement to that mom?
Yeah. It's more borrowed wisdom. So my daughter's a gymnast, a competitive gymnast. So that makes me nerdy, all things gymnastic stuff. So I read Jordan Child's memoir recently, and she shared something that she learned from another gymnast mom, but it was that don't quit on a bad day.
Mm.
Mm.
And I was like, that could preach.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
so easy to just throw your hands up when nobody shows up to the thing, when somebody's mad at you because you called their kid out on running with a stick, because, whatever. It's just easy because you're tired and you
Mhm.
don't want to get up and go drive the 30 minutes to that place in the cold today. So just don't quit on a bad day. And then grace upon grace on yourself,
Mm.
because number one, you're already leading by saying you'll lead. by just taking the time to do it. And even if your meetup lasts for 45 minutes, you just gifted yourself and another family 45 minutes of something outside of what they would typically be doing during the week. And sure, it can be this beautiful, picturesque Instagram moment. You could have everyone on the edge of the beautiful waterfall and take the picture, or you can experience what we experienced recently, where you're going to a waterfall only to find out that waterfall is really a waterfall only during the rainy season.
Oh, no.
And
But it's
Google
been
pictures
dry. It's been
and
dry in
Google
Georgia.
Google makes it look like it's this spectacular trek when it takes 10 minutes to get to, and it's a trickle. But it was still
Oh.
sweet
Yeah.
because the kids didn't care. They got to run around and climb on rocks that weren't covered in water at the time.
Yeah.
Like the leaves had just fallen, so they jumped in leaf piles. And the mamas just got to chat while their kids did their thing. And it was so worth it. So it's
Yeah.
just that I
That's
think
awesome.
that would be the wisdom that I have to share.
You just said 2 things that I think anybody who leads any group are just so important. One is that the kids don't care. So many
Yep.
times it's us in our own heads. The kids are having a blast, and let's just let
Yeah.
them be. But also, you're already leading by showing up. You're doing a good enough job already. I needed to hear that. Thank you, Sarah.
No, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you for sharing that. And I hope that it ministers to many people listening. But even if it's just one, heck, even if it's just us, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I would love to know if you have a wild and free adjacent, whether it's with your work with the conference or your group in particular, but a win that we could celebrate with you.
Honestly, I think the wins right now is that we have a schedule for the winter and spring, and it is rich with really special gatherings and meetups.
That's
And I
awesome.
just have an incredible co-leader who just pushes and challenges. I really feel like I'm winning with her because she just is such a gift. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
That
I hope
is
she
that is
hears
a
that
win.
and
Yes.
knows how
Yeah.
appreciated she is.
Love that, and we are celebrating that with you, Sarah. The
Yes.
No.
schedule in and of itself is huge.
Yeah. I feel like I'm winning just a bit because I got 4 more weeks into Group Me calendar,
Yep.
and I'm
Yep.
like, "Okay, everybody, you know what's happening until March."
I am cheering that for you. I don't have that done yet, so I am cheering for you and inspired.
Well, Sarah, where can our listeners find you, both you personally, but also your graphic design business?
So I'm not on the socials anymore. I jumped on that bandwagon. So I could tell you my handle, but everything's like 4 years old.
Nothing's happening
I mean,
there.
um, uh, yeah, my graphic design business is therapycreative, .com. That's basically it. And so that's where it's just first, last name, and then creative.com. It's where you can find me.
Kat, where can they find you when you're not running around at Wild and Free conferences?
Well, I'm going to tell you in just a second, but just since we're talking about Wild and Free, if you are listening and you are wondering about joining a Wild and Free group, you can go to bewildandfree.org. You can create a free membership, doesn't cost a thing. You get access to the map. You can zoom into your area and find the groups near you and request to join. But you can find me when I'm not leading my Wild and Free group at Recreating Camp on Instagram and Facebook. And where can they find you?
You can find me at scratchmadesimple _ on Instagram and at scratchmadesimple on TikTok. And as always, you can find us at Homeschooling Down South, anywhere we're social.
And if you have a leader in your community that you think we should interview about homeschooling, you can email us at hello@homeschoolingdownsouth.com. If you liked this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening. Sarah, thank you so much for your time
Yes,
today.
thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
And we'll love together, we'll learn together, explore this whole wide world together. No matter where we are, I have you, you have me, and today